Good afternoon, everyone. Hello. Welcome to all those who've joined into the Perla webinar live stream Fireside Chat today. Big hello to everyone, not only on the East Coast in Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, etc., but also our friends over on the western side of the country. I know it's still morning for people over there. It's always great to have a crowd. My name's Hayden. I'm a co-founder and the CTO of Perla. Some of you might have dealt with me at some point or another. Obviously, we have a lot of fans here today in the crowd. So thank you all for coming along. I think I'd like to start by just acknowledging that today we have a fairly straightforward agenda, and it's not designed to be something lengthy or cumbersome or tiresome, because for many of you, you're somewhere probably at work or rushing around handling kids or doing something else that's important. You know, for many of you, you've got a lot on today. So we'll try and be brief. We'll try and bash through a lot of this together, get a lot of information out there, get everyone updated and feeling connected with the broader agenda of what's going on this year, and then have some time at the end for questions, which is for some of you the most important part. So that was a bit of a welcome. We've been very excited to share some of these updates over the last few months, so it's an exciting day for us as much as it is for you. And I would also like to preface that the slides that we have today are not exactly a work of art, but I will simply point to the fact that we spend most of our time here at Perla driven by product-led development, not a lot of marketing, not a lot of fluffy stuff. We're just trying to build good app for you most of the time, so appreciate that in advance. One thing I thought would be great to start with is just a little bit of a more human element of what goes on, because obviously we have a team of about 20 people now at Perla. More than half of that team are just in the product engineering and customer service space. So again, it's very much a heavy customer approach to how we build our team and how we think internally. But I did just want to highlight three really important people in our team. Most of the time when you love something on Perla or hate something on Perla, or you have a good experience or a less than ideal experience, whatever it is, there's a really core team of a few key leaders that are helping drive that. And these are three of the people I work with the most. And I just love an opportunity to introduce them. I know my head is blocking Rob here and his name, but we have Charlotte Gray, who is our principal product manager. We have Robert Clifton Everest, who's our kind of senior engineer, and those two individuals are instrumental in supporting myself in helping deliver good technology to all of our great customers. And then we have Kathy Sun in the middle, who some of you would have had a chance to interact with, who looks after our customer service team. So a lot of emphasis from day one with us on trying to make sure that we have a strong customer service team. And you know, she makes it happen. So hopefully you'll see more of these people around. We're looking to run more webinars in the future, hopefully at a monthly cadence or something a bit more engaging and a bit shorter, so that you can kind of get some more regular updates and hear from the team and hear from people that aren't just myself or other people you have interacted with at Perla before. So before we kind of get into the roadmap, just wanted to quickly touch on a few exciting wins that have happened over the last few months. Many of you will be familiar with this because by virtue of the type of people that turn up to these webinars, you've probably been reading the emails, so we'll be pretty quick on it. You've probably seen that you can now get your chest statements and other things delivered via email instead of physical mail. I know that's probably very exciting for a bunch of you. I get my mail delivered to my grandfather's place, and I go and pick it up every couple of months, and it's a big pile, so I'll be looking forward to being able to visit him without having to bring a bag of mail home with me. On the platform over the last few months, we have actually invested a lot into our search bar. This one might have kind of swung under the radar a bit for a few of you, but if you actually go and search on the Perla platform now, it kind of searches most things across the site, which includes, you know, stocks, ETFs, help articles, forum posts essentially, which we'll chat on more later, help articles. So, you know, if you have questions about how the product works. So if you haven't been using that, go and check it out. It's something we're continuing to spend more time on, because we understand with these complex platforms that sometimes you don't know where to navigate to. So you just tell us what you're looking for and we help you find it. For the more engaged and excited customers, you would know that we have a features request space on the website. We've actually integrated this into our main platform. I won't send too many links about it at the moment, because we are actually cleaning it up in terms of the style and integrating it into some other things that we will talk about today. So if you're interested and you don't know where this is, just sit tight for a few weeks. We'll be talking about it more. one of the most long-awaited updates that people have been bugging us for is the ability to log in with a PIN on your mobile app. This was something that eluded us for a long time due to a more fundamental, I guess, constraint of how our mobile app was built. But we've been investing quite a lot of time into going down essentially what I will summarize as a path to native application, for those who know what it means, which essentially means that for all those little clunky things you feel about the app, we're trying to slowly unwind them in a way that gives us a clear roadmap, but is not too distracting from some of our other core core services we're trying to provide. Another small one that I don't think we've actually told customers about yet, but a few people have asked for it, is we know that many of you hold shares or ETFs or other assets with other awesome products in the market. You probably know a bunch, we know a bunch. They're all a bit different, and they all do something slightly different for you. Some have different data. We know we have a lot of customers who will use other platforms as well to look at things like market depth, because even though we are here for boring investing, we know for some of you boring investing is not your thing, and that's okay. But rather than just you add them to your dashboard as a wealth item saying I have $2,000 of VAS at stake or something, you can actually key in now the quantity and the cost you paid for it. So even if you do hold shares in other platforms, maybe you haven't gotten it around to transferring it to Pearl, or maybe you just don't have the confidence yet, that's okay. Trust takes time. You can actually just add it and track it on Pearler. So that'll help you use Pearler to keep track of your overall net wealth. And then if you haven't already seen, we do have an experimental features section on our website. What we do is when we release new features, instead of actually just always pushing them out to production, when they're in essentially a beta or a testing phase, we like to share that with our customers and bring them along on the journey so that they can actually try some of these things as well. So if you're ever just curious about some extra stuff we have on the platform, you can go and check this page out. Typically when things become ready enough to share with the whole community, they disappear from this page. So it's a bit like a staging area. So again, I'm sure many of you have heard of that before. So they're just some of the small wins we've had over the last few months. We only have so much time today, so we don't want to talk about absolutely everything, but most of the time we share a lot of the things that happen either on our feature request board if they're small, or if they're bigger, we email out our customers for all of you to hear. It wouldn't be a fun fireside chat today if we didn't quickly mention our new referral program. At the end of last week, we actually have quietly launched an August campaign where we drastically increase the benefit that you get when you refer your friends. We did some research on this topic to figure out what customers want, what they're looking for from their Pearler credit, what they're looking for from their referrals, and we came at it from two different lenses. We looked at our kind of shares customers, which are the majority of our customers, and I'm sure many here today, it's not the evening, where we said, you know what, previously we were giving you $10 or $20 for a referral, but we're now looking to give you up to $40. So we're giving a much larger amount to say we really appreciate when you bring friends and family onto the platform, because we love the idea not just of getting more customers, but when you have an opportunity to talk to someone you care about and help them get engaged with their wealth, that's something that's really critical to our mission and something we're very excited about, and we'd love to give the opportunity to give back to you for that. But the way we've structured this is that you don't just get a $40 credit up front, but we actually give you essentially a free investment every month for 6 months. So that was based on a lot of customer feedback. We had a lot of customers who were like, great, thank you for giving me $30 and it expires in 30 or 60 days, but what am I going to do with that? I'm a long-term investor. I'm on Autoinvest. I'm just trying to invest once a month. So if you do refer a friend and you are a kind of user who's just invested in something like VDHG, it could be anything, and you're just making one investment a month, you essentially refer 2 friends across a year and you'll be investing for free without brokerage. So very exciting there. And then on the micro front, for our customers here who are investing in the micro investing platform, we are giving $10 away for each referral you make, which essentially helps you cover, I think it's 3 to 4 months. I can't remember what we wrote there. Yeah, I think it's, can't remember, 3 to 4 months. It's in the fine print on our Refer Friends page. But the person you refer actually gets $5 of credit that they can put towards investments to start. So what that means is if you have a friend who wants to get started in investing and they maybe have $20 to put aside, we will actually give them $5 of real money, so to speak. I actually shouldn't call it real money, but it's credit that you can use to buy something with. So if your friend comes to the platform with $20 on their first investment, they'll be able to buy $25 worth of shares. I see some questions appearing in the chat. I will go through them all at the end. So please keep them coming. Just for those who are trying to get the core information, we're going to keep moving through for now. So that's some fun things going on right now, or have been going on in the last few months. I want to talk a little bit though about our key product mission going forward and how that's informed some more exciting things that will be happening for the rest of 2022. These are all things that are active projects. These aren't kind of boardroom ideas that no one's talking about. They're daily conversations, and in many cases they're anywhere from started progressing to well progressed in the final stages and kind of imminently being released to people. So this is worth just quickly touching on. I know my head's in the way. Let me get rid of my head for a minute. So it's all well and good for us to talk about the things we're doing, but sometimes it's really important to remind everyone why we do the things we do, because it helps build a little bit of a picture. And the best summary that we could provide today really quickly was that a lot of our product landscape for the remainder of the year is held up on 4 pretty fundamental ideas. I won't read the text out, but it's pretty much educating people. We love the idea of education. It's pretty much one of the reasons we got into this business. We want people to feel more confident with their money. We want to help people manage wealth. As you know, everything from tax to performance tracking to net wealth tracking, you start dealing with Excel spreadsheets, other apps you don't like. Managing wealth should not be a part-time job for people. It should be something absolutely seamless. We want to help connect people. We'll talk a little bit more about this in detail because this can often be misconstrued, but we want to help people feel connected. You know, so often investing or dealing with your money can feel like a single player game. We don't want it to feel like that. We want you to feel like you're part of a community, and then obviously just simplifying everything down. As many of you may know, there are a lot of products out there in the market that like to complicate things, either because they're targeting a very niche target market or they want you to feel like you need to know certain things that you don't, particularly for everyday investors. So we are continuing to focus on that everyday investor, keeping things very simple approach. Now, let's run through about 5 or 6 of the key big major topics that are on our agenda for the rest of 2022. One of the first ones that we have been talking about for a while, and I know there's going to be a few customers in this call who are wondering when they'll hear from us, is our Kids app. We talked about this, I believe, it might have been back in April or May. We have been trying to create a dedicated app that offers parents the ability to easily invest on behalf of their kids, and to do so within the kind of micro-investing landscape. There are similar applications out there in the market at the moment. Some of them don't do it necessarily on behalf of your kids from a legal standpoint. We're going to be sharing more information about this in the coming weeks. But it's essentially the way we like to describe it in a really simple way is that we're creating a kind of auxiliary app, like an actual phone app, that might be like a Perla Lite, where when you sign up, the main thing you do is that you can open a minor account for your child under Perla Micro, and you can easily set a goal. You can choose the options they want to invest in. It's all very, very simple, 1 or 2 options. It's the kind of thing you can do with your child or someone you're a guardian for. You can help set and forget, put money aside every week, $10 aside from the time your child's 1 year old or they're born, really build up over many years. We're trying to do some really fun things with it too. So rather than just give you the ability to deposit money, $10 a week for all of your children, is actually, when it is your if you have a 13-year-old who their birthday's coming up and you have a parent or a cousin who wants to give them a gift, you can just give them a pay ID or a bank account to actually give them that gift and send a message and just create a bit more family and connection in this area, and take some of that sterility that comes from finance and investing broadly and make it just a bit more of a community effort within the household. So that's a super exciting topic. This app is built. I've been playing with it on my phone. We're just going through some final internal testing. And then the last things that are on our plate are essentially some really boring legal stuff and other technical commercial elements just to actually get the fund together to work. So at the moment, the timeline we're looking at this, we said this would be released previously. We're hoping sometime in late month, early September, but for anyone who's been interested in this app and wants to invest for their kids but legally in their own name, you can get in touch with me. My email's at the end, and we will essentially try and get you on, because we can get people on right now. It's just that we have to get that minor account element fixed up. I will answer a few of the more relevant questions right now. So David said, is micro still unavailable for minors? Currently it is, but soon it will not be. It will be. It will not be unavailable. It will be available to people soon. So that's very exciting. That's actually the last kind of legal commercial element that's like blocking this getting to market. Justin says, does it support multiple child accounts? Yes, it does. That's kind of one of the key points of this. So you can actually see in the screenshots here, if my mouse is visible, that this is actually child one called Charlie, and that orange box you see there is actually a second child. So it's designed from day one to be for multiple children. It's not just a pool, but to actually be able to say, I have 2 kids and they both have their own goal, and they've chosen some big broad ETF to invest in. Really, really kind of simple stuff. Nisa says, with the kids app, investment would still be owned by parent. Yes, so there could be tax implications for parents who would be earning dividends on investment over time. So the intention here is to allow this app when parents come and download and register for the app. They'll have a choice, which is, would you like to invest for your kids but in your name legally, or would you like to invest for your kids where you invest but it's held beneficially for them? Obviously, both of those have very different implications in terms of tax. That's not something I'd be able to go into depth right now, mainly because of timing reasons. But as this app gets closer to launch, we will be putting out quite extensive communications to help explain this, because for different people, there are different circumstances that are right. And whilst we won't be able to kind of tell people which way they should go, we'll be able to help them understand the landscape for them to make their own choice. But choice is a very big deal for us right now. That's how we're approaching this. Great. I'm going to keep moving on. Another really cool topic that's about, honestly, a week or 2 away from being released, and something that's been very exciting for us internally, is essentially our next major update in the world of Pearler Autoinvest. This has been very exciting for us because Autoinvest, or automation as a topic more broadly, is something that has really underpinned Pearler from day one. If we have people here who've been with us since 2020, you'll know that that's why most people signed up in 2020 to Pearler. We were the auto investing chess sponsored broker. So it's a big passion project for us. And what we want to do is take the exact same product we have, not change what you can do with it necessarily by, unwinding things or fundamentally reinventing it, but just expanding what it can do. So we'll be sending out more comms about this over the next couple of weeks, but there's a few key things that it can do that we couldn't do before. The first one is that we're allowing people to round up into their shares account if they'd like to. Obviously, the parcel sizes that people invest with for shares are quite higher, so we know this won't be as popular as rounding up into micro, but we know this is still quite popular. We're also going to be consolidating automatic depositing, because there are customers in Pearler who want to actually set up regular deposits into Pearler through direct debit, but they want to invest on their own terms and not set up that automatic investing part. We're allowing people to also be able to spread their deposits across multiple products. Again, this was another very popular demand from people in terms of being able to say, hey, I want to be able to save $1,000 a week into Pearler, but I want to be able to put 80% of it into shares, and I want to put 20% into essentially just my cash account on Pearler, my Pearler wallet, so that I can, do some more discretionary investing when I'm ready for it. We are also helping people be able to more easily top up. That's another really common thing that happens, is customers saying, yeah, I've got my Autoinvest set up, I've got my micro, but what happens if I have a spare $20 around? What happens if my parent gives me $50 for Christmas and I just want to send that to Pearler really easily? So the ability to kind of just keep contributing and topping up is a very big thing. And then also we're looking at other ways to help people deposit. If you're a Spaceship Voyager customer, you'll be familiar with very similar products such as Boost. We're looking at what ways do customers want to help save money. And a really common one that we've been chatting about in our Facebook community, which you can find on Facebook with a bunch of very excited customers, is if I have a bank account, every time my bank balance reaches X dollars, such as say $30,000, I want to put $1,000 into Pearler. And that's something, for instance, that I'm actually quite interested in recently, because, I've got my cash safety buffer built up finally, and now I know I have an income and I only need so much kind of money in my transactional account, and anything extra that comes in, I just want to automatically be able to keep investing that in the share market. So quite a few kind of exciting things. we're really trying to reinvent just how far we can help people automate things in the wealth space. So if you are interested in this, similarly, you can shoot an email. Email's on the last slide. We'll get to it at the end. Many of you might have my email if you've been emailed me by me before. But check that out, because I'm personally very excited about this, and I hope everyone else here is too. And we're excited to see what you want to do with it and keep building it in the direction you want to see it go. A bit of a difficult one to explain that we're working on at the moment that is in progress is a new what we call super section for education, which we're calling Explore. This is really hard to talk about without showing you and spending 10 or 15 minutes seeing the really cool work the team is doing. But the easiest way to start is to say that for many of you who've been long-term Pearler customers, you know that whilst we are starting to do more and more cool stuff, it has definitely created a bloat and a sprawl to the platform, which makes things hard to find. So Pearler has kind of grown, it's tried to run before it can walk sometimes when it comes to the expansion of the app and where things are and make sense. So we've taken a step back over the last few months and said, hey, how do we bring all these things together? And we're trying to bring it all together in essentially a big space where everything's very easy to navigate. It's not kind of all over the place in sub-navs. And it's really broken up into 4 key areas for us. The first one you'll be quite familiar with, which is our invest space on Pearler, which is where you can look at ASX, US shares, micro, super we'll chat about after, template portfolios, comparisons, following shares and other things. It's really just getting into that like financial asset space. And we want to make it more intuitive, more information, less clutter, easier to keep track of things. So that one's getting a big consolidation. We also have a learning space where we're trying to bring in our help articles, which many of you read to learn how to use Pearler, our blogs, other curated content, getting started guides, things you can share with friends and family about, what is investing, what is chess versus not chess, why would you put money into micro versus shares, just that real deep learning area where we can help provide you with information. We want to create a space where our customers can ask questions as well, or ask for things they want, ask for answers to complex money problems that are appropriate to ask, but maybe Pearler isn't in the best position to answer. That's what we're calling our asking space. Some of you might have already seen that we have our Pearler Exchange, essentially an open forum where real people can ask real questions and get answers from other real people. It's moderated. We make sure there's no bad financial advice there, but sometimes there are limitations for what Pearler can help you with. A common question we get from customers is, should I invest in the VAS, VTS combo or VDHG? It's not appropriate for us to advise on that question, and it's not appropriate for really anyone besides yourself to advise on that question, but we wanted to create a space where other customers can share their experiences and what worked for them. Not to tell you what to do, but any of you here probably know what it's like to have a question about something and just to talk to other people. When you buy a car, when you buy health insurance, when you get a phone plan, you'll do what's right for you, but it's easy when you can hear a bit more about other people's stories. So that's a big part of this section as well. And then finally, our last piece, which is a bit of a rehash on our community elements on the platform. Many of you know we have profiles on Pearler, but we want to take that further and say it's all well and good that you can see some public profiles on Pearler, but the kinds of questions we see our customers asking are things like, hey, I'm coming to the platform, I might be someone who identifies as female and between like 25 and 35. What are people like me doing? How often are they depositing? What are they depositing? What are popular shares? And we know that this topic can get very conflated quickly with things that our competitors are doing, where it's all about leaderboards and avatars and a few other things. But I think this is an opportunity to make clear that we're not trying to create an eToro-like space where everything's meant to be fast moving and you're comparing against others. It's really about, we know how lonely this can feel sometimes. We know how lonely this environment is, particularly when it's common in a lot of families and communities that talking about money is taboo. We have a lot of customers, we have a lot of data. How can we help you understand a piece of the puzzle that you fit into or that you don't want to fit into? How do different types of people invest in aggregate? So it's really about how can we use the data and the mission we have to help you and bring that onto the platform. That one's still in a bit of ideation at the moment, but we're super excited to see how that kind of thing can turn out, because if you're like us, you know that there are plenty of people in your own life that kind of thing could be transformational as an educational tool, because it just doesn't exist extensively in market at the moment. So that's our kind of super space for education at the moment, still being worked on. A couple hours on it yesterday myself, so very exciting topic. Another thing that, if you've been checking your email, you'll have heard about a couple weeks ago is two big things have happened in the last couple of months. One of them was that we saw that Pocketbook close down, and we had a lot of customers asking us if we could do something similar. The second thing that happened is that Pearler became one of the first sponsored, there's a technical term I can't remember off the top of my head, I think sponsored consumer data rights recipient of essentially open banking data. Open banking is a term that a lot of people have heard about, maybe as a buzzword, but essentially what it means is that 6 months ago, Pearler, like most other companies, if you wanted to connect your bank account to us, you had to share your username and password with a third party. I did this. I trust the third party we work with. My friends trust it too, but not everyone does, and that's fair enough. Like sharing your password with a third party and not your bank, in some cases it can be tricky with your bank's terms of services. So it was quite hard for us to create an at-scale product where you could actually connect your bank account and get a feed of your transactions or track your balance through Pearler. But with open banking as the new technology, what it says is that we don't need that third party anymore to store anything, because just like when you do Google, if anyone's ever done Google sign in or Facebook sign in or Twitter sign in or any of these things, it essentially means that you can sign in with Google, and a platform like Pearler can know you signed in with Google, but Pearler doesn't know what your Google password is. So it makes it a lot more secure, and the exact same things just happen with banking products. So in light of that, we are saying, hey, because we can connect securely in a way you want to your bank, and because there are many of our customers who are looking to help track their spending and expenses, we're digging very deep in that space right now. We have like 1,500 people on the wait list who are interested in this. It's a big topic. We got teams working weekends to try and get this out at the moment. It's really exciting, just to help people categorize and analyze their spending, set budgets, and do alerting, see projections going forward. And the reason for this is, I forgot the third thing, which is that whilst open banking and the closing of another major app are important catalysts, what's even more important is that a year ago everyone was super excited about investing and buying houses, but right now, everyone's kind of focused on tightening their belts. We know our customers are investing less, and we expect that because it's a bit of a harder time for some of you, and some of you are, struggling a little bit. And that's okay. What can we do to adapt to that? Instead of helping you invest more and more and more, how can we help you actually maybe track your spending and saving a bit better, because wealth building is as much looking at your spending as it is about your investing, and we acknowledge that. Anthony, and I just want to point this out, Anthony said, I've tried the open banking registration a few times and it's failed. It is new technology. Most of the issues that we have with open banking are not related to us. They're related to sometimes the third party, but most often the banks. Some of the banks are kind of falling behind. So if you do have issues with that, reach out to our team. But realistically, for the next 6 months, to give some random numbers, let's say open banking is like 90% perfect. It'll get to 95 in a month or two, and it'll kind of just close that gap. But in the meantime, we do expect the occasional customer to have some issues with it, and we'll continue to do the best we can there, but sometimes things are just difficult. We'll be pretty quick on this one. Actually, I'll quickly make a comment. David says joint accounts are not normally supported by a lot of banks. This is one of the biggest issues that we've identified with open banking, and lots of other companies have too. Banks haven't figured out how to... Well, they've probably figured it out. They haven't implemented in many cases the connecting of joint bank accounts, because you getting data from a joint bank account, and it makes sense, requires consent from your partner. And banks are still trying to get those flows right. So in many cases, I wouldn't expect for the next few months, if you have a joint bank account, it'll be very easy to connect it. But that is a moment in time thing that will... 12 months from now, I don't expect that to be an issue in the slightest, based on the advice that I've heard from people we work with. Last couple of things to quickly chat about that's exciting on the horizon. We talked about our new referral program, which is part of our broader rewards category, where we give you credit for things. we just want to flag that one thing we're planning at the moment is how can we expand this concept and ensure that great behavior on our platform is rewarded with, badges and kudos, something fun, to make you feel like, you did something cool and, you've gotten a little, star from it. And then also credits, because most of you probably don't care about the stars and you just want a little bit of a kickback. So things we've been talking about, are if you're a super referrer on the platform, or you've been investing regularly for 12 months, or, it's been 2 years and you've never sold, or you've, been using Autoinvest for, all this kind of stuff that we know is good investing behavior. We know you think is good investing behavior. So how can we help align those incentives and, give you little rewards here and there along the way? We want you to feel good about doing the right thing, because we know so many of our customers are doing great things and kind of countercultural to the classic trading app approach. And we just want everyone to feel like, we're going on that journey together and giving each other, figurative high fives along the way. So that's something we don't have a lot to update on because these are in the planning stages, but just to canvas, that's something on our mind. The second last thing is, and this one might be a bit more popular, is that we know that tracking and analytics is key on the platform. We know that performance goals and reporting are quite massive to customers. So just a few things in this space that we're tackling very directly are that my head's in the way of the most important part of this slide, which is that we are imminently, hopefully within a couple of months, going to be able to display the amount of dividends that you're earning on the dashboard itself. Because for any of our savvy investors, that currently on Pearler, the earnings that you see are basically just capital growth earnings, which, if you're here for financial independence or a long-term investor, or you like high dividend stocks, not seeing dividends is a real bummer, because it's one of the more fundamental elements of why you're investing. So that's massive for us. We want to find more vibrant and interactive ways for you to engage with your goals. We have customers saying all the time they'd like to be notified of milestones or set milestones, because if you have a goal that's like $80,000 and that's going to take you 6 years to hit, it's kind of a bit depressing, isn't it? To think, I'm going to be here for 6 years and just waiting for that bar to get there. So, how can we really, again, take you on that journey and add a little bit of excitement along the way? And then we also know that we have customers who use ShareSite extensively for some of their tax reporting, and they love it. And we have customers who are interested, but they maybe don't want to pay for ShareSite all the time, even though it's a great product. So we're working with them to see if we can actually help provide our customers, with tax reporting at the end of the year for a price that's cheaper than what it would take to kind of connect with ShareSite. This isn't that relevant for a kind of typical Pearler customer like myself, who are just investing in ETFs and then never selling and only ETFs, because what the share registries give you is fairly extensive and you can just kind of punch it into your ATO most of the time. But we know that we have a lot of other types of users on the platform who are looking for something like that. So keep an eye out for that as well. And then lastly, one of the other things that we're in the early stages of planning is what we've been calling internally a super marketplace. And essentially this stems from a fairly simple reality that we've been aware of for a long time, which is that super is a key part of wealth building for you, particularly, again, many of our customers who know that investing in non-super is just part of the journey, not the whole journey, and you want to track it in your dashboard, or you want to get it right. So what we want to do is we want to really help customers on a few key fronts. The first one is maybe they're with a super fund. It says correctly, that should say currently. I'm sorry, that's a typo. But I'm not sure what other funds I could be part of. I used to tutor I tutored at the university, I think was one of my first super funds. They set me up with a super fund. I've never changed it. Is that the best super fund to be with? I don't know. I haven't looked. That's not a story. That's true. So what other funds are there out there that I could be part of? I also know a super fund I want to change to as another scenario, but I'm not confident opening an account with them or changing the fund with my employer. It all sounds like a lot of complexity. And we know that, like, whilst it is easy or doable, there are a lot of things in the finance space that are doable, but are just kind of confronting. If anyone's dealt with the share registries, it's all just quite worrisome sometimes. You'll be interacting with them and then you'll think, all right, and there's another product, and then computer share and link market services and chess, and you're just completely losing your mind. So how can we help people actually, how can we take them, how can we handhold them through that journey? And then many people have a few super funds, which means they're paying layers of fees, and maybe they know that, but they don't remember their details. So we're as a longer term plan, we're trying to work with, providers that can connect to the ATO to help people consolidate their super funds. So this won't affect many of you in this webinar, I expect, because many of you will already know what you want. You'll already have the super fund, but many of you know people who might be struggling with this. So don't think of this like we're super excited to give this to our keenest customers because they're probably ones who are quite aware of it. Think of this like we know how many people you know that something like this could be helpful for. People you want to refer to Perler one day, or people that you don't want to refer to Perler but just need help. Friends, family, cousins, everything else. So that's what this means to us in quite a lot of depth. Don't mistake this for Perler being a super fund. That's a common mistake. This is us helping you. It's a bit like Perler is not an ETF. We help you interact with ETFs. We're not talking here about Perler being a super fund. We're talking here about Perler helping you interact with super funds, because it's obviously an easy thing to mistake. Now, we're at 108, about 38 minutes in. There are a few other things on the platform that have been updated or are work being updated at the moment that'll be rolled out over the next few weeks. They kind of fell into this other work category, but in essence, we're always trying to improve the smaller things on our website just to make our customers' lives better. Sometimes we don't make a big song and dance about it because we just want things to be easier. Like here's a new buy screen for us. We're also trying to help give people insights as to their journey. There's an image there on the top right, as well as give a bit more of a feed of information and live updates to help people interact and connect. And for those who have been nagging us for a long time about having a watch list, that is being worked on this week, and we will have that out before the end of the month. And this is just a handful of things. There's much more than this, but we're not trying to talk in your ear for an hour and a half. So in light of that, thank you for running through some things. We're not at the end because it's just kind of time for questions. I know we said fireside chat, but this has been a little bit of a fireside rant followed by a chat. I'm going to be going back through some of the questions that we've seen in the YouTube chat that weren't answered, and we'll quickly kind of tackle those. But if you have questions that you've been burning to ask, feel free to ask them now. Now's the right time, and we'll be able to address them. So, Jack asked one of the earlier questions, and Jack said, the target portfolio and Autoinvest feature is great, but when will you make it possible to sync your account with your partner's Perler account so that the total portfolio can be used as a target? That's a good question, Jack. So, if you've got a portfolio and your partner has a portfolio, how do we connect them in a way that when Autoinvest looks at things, it can see the bigger picture? The question was, when will we make it possible? So these are quite complex things to do and very easy things to get wrong. So they usually require a bit of engineering time. In a case like this, we would probably do this once we heard enough customers kind of talk about it and, push us to do it. Generally, only about 5% of Perler's customers are synced with joint accounts, and then a smaller proportion of that use Autoinvest. So realistically at the moment, that's probably not a major priority for us, but it's something we've heard and I have in my brain and other people do too. And the best way, if you are listening to this and you're like, Jack's right, I'm annoyed we're not, caring about it. The best thing to do is, there's a page on Perler called perler.com/feature-requests. You can actually go here anytime and you can search for a feature request. You can search for joint and see some things here. And upvote them or post another. Don't worry about posting a duplicate. We can always merge them. So that's a great place to kind of express yourself. I know that's not always the best answer, but we essentially are always trying to work towards things that we think are, extremely popular. But joint accounts is something we are always investing in, just maybe not as quickly as we are with our individual accounts sometimes, but we'll do what we can there. Jack also said, it would be great to be able to do account switching within the app website so that we can log in and out of my partner's account quicker. This should be possible. I might not be understanding the question, but you can actually do account switching. I guess what you're probably saying is that it requires a full page reload and something like that. The ability to swap between accounts is actually a long-term priority for us. We've already started doing the groundwork to make it easier to swap between, say, your account and your child's account without having to kind of do this sluggish page reload. But I'll also be transparent and say that's kind of a longer-term thing, probably over the next 6 to 12 months. And again, that's just because of the number of customers who have multiple accounts on the platform is actually quite low in the grand scheme of things. But we are working towards that. Maybe not at an ideal pace, but absolutely, absolutely at a pace, and it's a regular conversation. Julian said, in the future, will it be possible for dividends to go into my Autoinvest cash account? Yes. Right now, that is actually possible on Perla. I will just check that over here for a second really quickly. We kind of pushed this one quietly into production a few months ago. If you are sending your dividends to Perla, so if you've either registered in the last 3 or 4 months, this happens automatically, I believe. But if you've registered before then, you would have had to manually put in your Perla account details into the share registry. If you've done that, you'll actually see, I just have to hide my personal information here because when I'm showing this, it's on my account. If you actually go to settings/account, there is a section under there, under the funding methods. If you look at the URL here, that says dividend payments. If anyone wants to give me some money, feel free to. Don't really, but that's a joke about sharing personal information, but it doesn't matter. If you'd like to automatically transfer dividend payments to Autoinvest cash, you can actually just tick this box and we'll do it. So when you actually get paid into Perla, we've been developing systems that tell whether that's a dividend payment or not. They're not perfect, but they're like 90% good. So, if you do get like a Vanguard dividend payment and that button's ticked, it'll actually go straight into your Autoinvest cash. And then it'll get picked up as the broader Autoinvest mechanisms kick in. Pasquale, I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name correctly. Do you plan to update or do anything from a donation or charity perspective? Yes. There are a few key topics that me and my co-founder Nick have been talking about in the space of environmental, social sustainability, as well as charity donations that are absolutely a priority for the business. We're just trying to figure out how to best manifest them in the business at the moment. But in line with our values, we do actually see donations and charity as a part of wealth management. We know a lot of our customers and a lot of people are very generous by nature, and they do see that giving 1%, 0.5%, 5% back a year is actually just part of financial planning. So that is absolutely something that is on our minds and a key part of our medium to longer term roadmap. We are just trying to figure out what that looks like. So if we were having this chat in a few months or 6 months, you would have seen that on the slides today. So rest assured that's being cared about. And you also asked, do we need help in our team? Are we hiring? Yes, we are always hiring. If you're interested in being involved with Perla, then you should always reach out. We have a fairly straightforward email, jobs@perla.com, or you can email me. But that being said, we know that in our industry right now, there are a substantive number of layoffs happening. We know that, tech can be a bit of a scary place right now, and we are a startup. So we are hiring very intentionally and carefully at the moment because we don't want to be one of those companies that hires a bunch of people and then has to lay 10% of them off in 6 months. That doesn't seem like that doesn't seem very aligned with boring long-term investing in the future, So we're trying to be quite intentional. So I would say that, yes, we are always hiring, but we are not hiring like crazy. We'll always bring the right people on at the right time and never hesitate to reach out because we always love chatting to people. What else we got? A few people pointed out that Bankwest and ANZ have gotten joint accounts working with open banking. I haven't verified that personally. Not saying they're wrong. I just don't want to assert it in case that there's a small mishap there. But this is what you're going to see more and more of over the next 6 to 12 months is just companies, CommBank, this bank will just keep chipping away at it. And in no time, joint bank accounts being an issue will be a thing of the past. Cameron says, I'd love to be able to invest with lower amounts, but brokerage makes it difficult. Have you considered a subscription option to allow this? It's a great question. Brokerage is getting cheaper and cheaper, but we understand that for many, it's still a cost. It's still a cost, particularly in days when everyone's tightening their wallets. We also know that we have a number of customers who like our platform. They invest regularly, and you would have seen this with the prepaid credits that we have on our platform, where if you buy a bunch of credit up front, we'll give you a discount. We're always looking for ways to expand this idea into things like subscriptions. We know that we do have a certain base of customers who we could give discounted brokerage to for a year if they committed to that year of spending. So yes is the short answer. There's no concrete plans, but it's a regular conversation at the highest levels of the business. we've just been kind of sitting around figuring out a right way to do it. We know that there's a few ways we could do it, but we need to find ways that a sizable enough number of customers would be interested in it. But keep an eye out for that space, because I don't think we won't be finishing next year without something quite big happening there. So keep an eye out. Felicity says, an app so that kids can view their investments rather than depending on their parents' app. That's a great piece of feedback in relation to that kids app that we talked about earlier. We kind of did a bit of research on this and figured out what the right approach was. One of the things we found when talking to parents was that your typical parent, and I'm not saying every parent, typically their kids had access to their phone, or they knew their passcode or something similar. So a lot of what we looked at early on was, how can we say, give the kids access to the app, but not let them kind of do anything on it, so that, when your kids are sitting around, whether they're young or older, they can kind of just glance at it and check it out and get excited, but they can't go and sell anything or buy anything, without you actually being in control. But that is interesting about, a version of that kids app that a kid can download and connect to in a read-only view. These are a lot of things that we will figure out very quickly as we talk to customers, as we get these things released and into production. So please keep being loud about it, because we like listening, and when things are popular and things make sense, we like to do them. I'm starting to run low on the questions. Now, if we finish early, that's great. We've all got things to do today, but I do just want to flag that if you do have a question, try and ask it in the next couple of minutes, because we will just kind of wrap up at the end. Nisa says, hooray for the watch list. Yep, we know we have lots of customers very excited for the watch list. Sebastian says, is there a shares performance comparison tool? There is a shares performance page we have, but I would consider it to be very unloved. It's something we kind of trialed out and then left alone for a while, and it's something we're actually looking to invest our time into more over the coming month or so. Currently, it's very obscure. If you actually go to the platform and you click on this more here, you can actually click on compare, and it takes you to a very mysterious secret page where you can compare things. But again, this was more a prototype that we put together, and we've had some trouble with data accuracy and a few things. So I certainly wouldn't say go crazy at it. It's going to be brilliant. But what I'd say is we kind of had a foundation here, and we want to turn it from something that's okay and is kind of interesting to something that's very powerful. So again, watch that space. Jared says, with the miner investing, is the cost $6.50 per investment purchase. So you can invest for a miner either in the space of direct equities like ASX, ETFs, shares, or you can invest for them under like a managed fund, investment scheme kind of thing with micro. If it's in the shares space, there's no management fee that we charge. The ETF might, and it's $6.50. If you're in the micro space, then we charge a monthly fee over a threshold, but the actual buying and selling is free. So they are just two different products, and you can check that out just by going to our pricing page. But you can do miner accounts for shares at the moment. You can't do miner for micro yet, but you will be able to do those soon. So, more exciting things coming up. Pravin says, Pearl does not show the invested amount, but only shows today's value of the stock you have bought. Can you add that feature? So we don't show the invested amount, but only shows today's value of the stock. I might ask you to follow up with me on email with that. I might not be understanding your question, but we do actually show you. Oh, today. Okay, I understand what you're saying. Yeah. So we show you what today's value of the share is, and we show you the growth or decrease of that share, but we don't kind of show you immediately what you bought it as. Obviously, you could figure it out by saying, $10,000 that's gone up by $1,500, so I had $8,500. But we all don't want to sit around doing maths all day, right? But to your point, we are trying to add more interesting things to our dashboard that actually have that information. We are reworking our dashboard at the moment. It's a really exciting activity. More to show you in hopefully just a couple of weeks. We got 2 engineers working full time on that at the moment. Big updates for the mobile app in relation to the dashboard too. So keep that information coming, because that stuff is kind of very easy just to tack onto the page, particularly if we think that we know a lot of customers are interested in that. Julian says, in the future, will there ever be a threshold-based auto rebalancing? Yes. is the short answer. We have that currently. Well, yes is the short answer. We've been kind of toying with that because the demand for it is not too high, but it's high enough to kind of automatically rebalance. The struggles we run into with it are that us handling multiple buys and sells can get really tricky because sometimes, like, to rebalance, we might need to do 2 buys and 2 sells, but one of the sells fails because the market moved. And it's actually quite a difficult tech problem to solve because for us, even though it's one rebalance, it's kind of many separate orders. And we also, early on, when we had a feature like that, were struggling with customers who would keep rebalancing, and no matter how much we told them how much it costs with all the brokerage, they'd do it, and then they'd rack up a lot of fees, and we didn't feel like that was financially responsible until we got the communications right. So again, yes, that is something on our roadmap eventually. It's a great thing to post on the feature request page because a lot of the stuff on the feature request page we want to do and we know we're going to do, but we use the voting to help us kind of figure out a bit of priority. Which is super useful. Got 3 or 4 more questions. Lucky Property says, is there a plan to make the rewards transactions downloadable? For prepaid credits, these don't show on the contract note, and a report would resolve this. Yeah, so there are a number of customers who have been using prepaid credits who have had issues with the contract notes in relation to the cost basis. All I can tell you is that it's a very difficult problem for us to solve because of how credits are set up. I'd love to go into it, and we had a 3-hour meeting about it about 4 weeks ago, and we're trying to come up with plans to solve it. So whether it's a downloadable transaction statement or whether we can amend contract notes or put out some kind of appendix, that is something that we're trying to do at the moment. It's very much we need to sort this out by the end of the year. It's not something that we could turn around next week and kind of flash our fingers with, but we have also been chatting about, to your question about rewards transactions downloadable, trying to put together some interim solution where we can essentially give you a summary of the prepaid credits so that you can try and take that to an accountant. But again, that's quite a lengthy topic. All I can tell you is keep chatting to our customer service team, and we're really spending the time to get that right, even though it's a very difficult topic. John Dog says, will there be proper activity statements for Pearl and Micro? Currently can't see any dividends for tax reasons. So there's a few people have talked about this. We've seen this week. We work with a third party who manages the fund. Pearl does not manage the fund. We work with service providers like businesses do. We're still waiting on them to give the end of year tax reports. They are a very young company themselves, so they're probably just figuring a few things out like we are. We've been asking them for updates on it, so we will see movement there very, very soon. Obviously, they have some requirements that they can't just drag this out for weeks, so just sit tight a little bit longer and we'll try and get those tax statements to everyone. I'm in a similar boat to people. I want to get my tax going ASAP, and I have money in Pearl Micro, so all of us are very well aligned what we want to see happen there. So we'll keep doing our best there. Dan says, you mentioned dividend payments can now be directed straight to Autoinvest. Is there any talk about expanding this to a general setting such that all deposits can be directed straight to Autoinvest? So right now, I won't go too much into it because we're going to be changing Automate stuff soon, but you can actually right now, I'm pretty sure, I don't know the exact text, but you can see it on the deposit page. If when you pay ID into Perla, you actually write like Automate or Autoinvest, I can't remember the exact string. If you put that in the payment description, our system actually automatically picks it up and sends it to Autoinvest. And with the new stuff we're doing, it'll be the same thing. So if you'd like for all deposits to go in, you can actually just make sure that all your deposits have just Automate or some string like that that's visible on the site, and it'll just go in. So that's a use case we've designed for, and maybe it's not as clear as it could be based on the question, but it's definitely possible. Go check it out, and if it's still not very clear, which it might not be, talk to our customer service team, and we'll do what we can to improve it. Sharon says, is the brokerage a cost against dividends profit? If so, do you provide a tax receipt for brokerage page? Is the brokerage a cost against dividends profit? I don't know is the short answer. I kind of think I know what you mean, and I kind of think I know what the answer is, but it wouldn't be a smart idea for me to kind of comment definitively about something that could be related to tax advice. So please just ask our team for that, and we'll try and answer that one. I'm sorry that I don't have a question for you right now. I'd love to, but I can have a big mouth and get very excited sometimes. So we have to be careful. to make sure I understand what you're asking. Okay, any last, do we provide tax receipts for buying brokerage? Okay, so I got Sharon said, do we provide tax receipts for buying brokerage? That was the question that Lucky Property asked. And as I said, we're trying to get a full solution that solves the contract note problem. But internally right now, we are trying to get out what you're asking for and figure that out with some accountants. With this tax stuff, we have to be quite careful. But yes, we are trying to get it out because we are getting customers asking for it. We know that for many, it's not a massive thing. Like it's somewhere in the, tens to low hundreds of dollars in terms of cost base, but it's being talked about quite regularly to get it working. Sib Tane says, any plans to provide the capability of buying ETFs using credit cards? Probably, this one is a tough one. The short answer is probably not. Credit cards are tricky for a few reasons. One is that from a business perspective, it kind of carries a similar risk to other things where people can dispute the credit card transactions, and then we have to have processes to manage disputes and stuff. Like you can just call, you could pay for a TV on Kogan, and you can just call up your bank and tell them that you don't know what that is, and they'll try and pull the money back from Kogan and stuff. And I'm not saying you'll get it back, and I mean, don't do that if you bought the TV, but there's a lot of complexity there as opposed to just someone depositing money. So there's a bit of business complexity to that, but also there's a more philosophical element here where kind of from day one, we've said, whilst a lot of our customers will responsibly use credit cards, they'll have the money. The credit cards are more a mechanism and not a genuine, debt mechanism. We don't want to create a slippery slope where we start having customers, investing with funds that are borrowed, and we're boring investing for a reason, so use the real money. But with open banking getting more and more powerful, there will continue to be many ways to, whatever credit cards bring the value for. I assume for some of you it might be points, I'm guessing, is the big thing, credit card points. We're going to keep looking at it, but we've been talking about it for 3 or 4 years, and so far we haven't found a path that we think makes sense for our business and our customers and our risk. But never say never, but no plans right now. Okay, we're at 1:29. I'm just going to wrap it up there. If you do have other questions, please. Oh, Lucky Property got one more question. I'll answer that, and then that's the last question. If you do have other questions, please just email me, hayden@pearler.com. You can reach out on our live chat or help@pearler.com to chat to our broader team, which is run by Kathy as well. The last question I'll answer today is CommSec allows you to buy and gives you a couple of days to get the money into the account. Is there any plan for you to do something like this? Probably not. Again, when we think about boring long-term investing, and we kind of talk about not timing the market with our customers, we generally follow the philosophy that, those 1 or 2 days, if you are, broadly following that philosophy, aren't going to make a major difference. So that's not on the plans at the moment. And similar to other things, it does carry some business risk and processes. But again, never say never. Just like the previous question, we just don't have any immediate plans for that right now. Thank you to everyone for coming along. We had 90 people come today. It's really exciting to see so many people all around Australia. It's always great to see how many fans we have around. If we can ever do anything to make your lives easier or to help build the platform in your direction, whilst we can't always do anything, we do want to make sure that your voice is heard and that we can put that down somewhere so that if there are other small voices, we can aggregate them together and make things happen. Never hesitate to reach out. Our team loves all of you very much because everyone's so fun, and they always talk about how great our customers are and how nice they are. We have people who've come from other customer service jobs, and they're always shocked by how kind and friendly our customers are. So thank you to everyone for that. Have a great day, and I'm sure we'll chat sometime soon when we run these future events. Thanks, everyone.